Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. We're going to talk about something really fun. Actually, it's not fun. It's actually pretty serious. We're going to talk about the coronavirus and how it is affecting pop culture, how it's affecting geek culture, because we've got a couple of stories this week. I think both of these were actually kicked over to us by Chaotic Keyblade on Twitter, so thank you for that. One is that Sony and Facebook have decided to pull out of PAX East. And there's this really strange letter from the mayor of Boston to Sony, basically accusing them of being kind of racist about the coronavirus. That's weird. And then we're going to talk about the Ghibli Museum. Yeah, Studio Ghibli Museum is closed until the middle of March 17th. So it's already starting to affect pop culture. There's talk about how it's affecting tech, and we're hearing rumors that a lot of comic book publishers now might be potentially facing some issues because a lot of the comic books are printed overseas, and we don't know, exactly how that's going to affect the supply chain of comic books. We don't know what's going to happen. So we're going to talk about all of this on this very special episode of Clownfish TV. If you haven't subscribed so far, please subscribe. More pop culture news, views, and rants. We're at almost 100,000 subs. Thank you for that, guys. Geeky is sitting this one out. I think she maybe doesn't want to talk about coronavirus because it's not a very fun topic. And I didn't expect it to have an impact on pop culture this soon, I guess. But yeah, we're going to talk about this IGN article. Boston mayor urges Sony to reconsider PAX East absence over coronavirus, says it plays into harmful stereotypes. Harmful stereotypes because Sony has decided not to attend PAX East. I mean, that's a huge blow for PAX East because Sony is, one of the biggest players in gaming. But to say that it plays into harmful stereotypes to keep your employees safe, that's kind of an odd thing to say. From IGN, Joseph Noop, it's been less than a week since PlayStation announced it won't be attending PAX East in Boston due to increasing concerns over COVID-19, otherwise known as the coronavirus. Now, the mayor of Boston has reached out to Sony to appeal to the company, urging them to make a decision based on facts, not fear, and urging PlayStation to not play into harmful stereotypes about Chinese people. I don't think they said any such thing. I read the letter, and they don't want their employees, as I understand it, at conventions or trade shows or whatever because of the potential for any kind of illness. And it's actually, from my point of view, it's pretty smart because we're seeing now that in Europe that the virus has been spread to people. I think it was over in Singapore. I want to say Singapore, because of people who went to a trade show. You're bringing people in from all over the world. It's not a racial stereotype to say that the coronavirus originated in Asia, and there probably are going to be people who may or may not have contact with people in Asia at the video game convention. I'm just putting that out there. That actually sounds smart, and I would even be like, yeah, you know what? We're not sending any of our people to any conventions anywhere until they get this thing sorted out, because we can't afford, nor do we want to, lose anybody. So according to Eurogamer, Boston Mayor Marty Walsh has sent a letter to PlayStation CEO Kenichiro Yoshida, saying to the gaming company president that the risk of individuals contracting COVID-19 in Boston remains extremely low. Don't worry about it. Walsh also stated in the letter that anti-Chinese and anti-Asian sentiment and misinformation have played a role in the increasing fear of COVID-19 in the United States. Anti-Asian, we're talking about Sony, a Japanese company. I don't think Sony, a Japanese company, is anti-Asian. I just am putting that. I can't believe that they would accuse Sony of being anti-Asian. These fears reinforce harmful stereotypes that generations of Asians have worked hard to dismantle, said the mayor of Boston to Sony, Japanese entertainment conglomerate. They trigger, keyword trigger, our worst impulses, to view entire groups of people with suspicion, to close ourselves off, and to miss out on the opportunities and connections our global city provides. Boston is united in our efforts to dispel these harmful and misguided fears, said the mayor of Boston to Sony, Japanese tech conglomerate. As a large international company, you have an opportunity to set a good example, Walsh wrote. As a leader in technology, you can show that you're motivated by facts and not fear, he said to Sony, Japanese tech conglomerate based in Asia. As a leader in gaming and culture, you can show that you believe in connection, not isolation. PlayStation has yet to publicly respond to Walsh's letter, probably because it's dumb. An increase in racist comments and attacks has been linked to increasing fear over COVID. A viral video shows a man on an LA subway train ranting at an Asian woman. Again, I'm not going to say that that's not happening, okay? But it's shocking that the mayor of Boston is going to lecture Sony, Japanese tech conglomerate based in Asia. He's going to lecture them on how they need to not be anti-Asian. You cannot make this up. You cannot make this up. So that is going on, and it's not just Sony. I know Facebook is pulling out too, and I think a couple other companies are. And again, look, this has nothing to do with race. This is just about making sure that your employees are safe, and I think right now anybody going to any convention that has an international audience, I think if you can possibly postpone it or whatever, I would recommend that you do so, because they don't really know, how it's being or where it's being transmitted. Again, people are going to conventions overseas and they're bringing it back to Europe. They're bringing it to the States. Clearly, it's not a disease that only affects Asian people, but the chance of infection in a very crowded convention with companies, from all over the world. I think in this case, it's better to err on the side of caution. I don't disagree with Sony and Facebook. So they're closing the Ghibli Museum down until March 17th, again, because of the virus. So the Tokyo metropolitan government is enacting new measurements to reduce the spread of coronavirus in the world's biggest city. A number of anime-related sightseeing locations closing increases, with the Ghibli Museum in outer Tokyo closing its doors for 3 weeks. The Ghibli Museum announced on its website February 22nd it'll be closing its doors from February 25th to March 17th to prevent the spread of the new coronavirus infectious disease. Are they anti-Asian? Is Studio Ghibli, are they anti-Asian? Maybe they're anti-Asian. Maybe somebody from America should lecture Studio Ghibli and tell them to get over themselves. Get over yourselves, Studio Ghibli. How dare you be so anti-Asian? Said someone from Portland. They're canceling other events as well. Bushy Road, this event they're canceling. There are 146 cases of coronavirus in Japan, outside of the Diamond Princess cruise ship, which, an elderly couple died. They contracted the disease on a cruise ship. I think they were in their 80s, and they passed away because of it. Again, I don't think it's being stupid. I don't think, keeping your employees away from a potentially dangerous and potentially life-threatening situation is in any way, shape, or form racist. It's just common sense. This is just common sense. And we're going to see that there are going to be more issues with this because, Asia is the tech manufacturing hub of the planet. So much of our technology comes from Asia. So much of our everyday merchandise, Geeky and I were talking, we're like, man, almost all of Disney's merchandise in the theme parks comes from China. We don't know how, if the stuff can stick to objects. I don't know. I have no idea. But regardless, there are a lot of people working at those businesses that make this stuff who are going to get sick, and it's a mess. So this is coronavirus is starting to hit big tech's bottom line. Apple, Amazon, and Facebook have all acknowledged their businesses are being impacted by the outbreak. China, which is the second largest economy in the world, has all but halted its production of consumer goods like phones, clothing, and automobiles the last several weeks. The country has taken on unprecedented wartime measures to control the virus's spread, such as placing severe restrictions on some of its 780 million people and then instituting mass quarantines in major cities. Again, that's not racism. That's being smart. It's being smart. But Wall Street Journal reports that the lockdown in the Chinese manufacturing has caused global markets to shudder and is casting an ever-widening shadow on the economy at large. That's particularly relevant in the tech industry, which depends on Chinese labor to build everything from computer chips to cell phone parts and comic books. I'm hearing some comic book publishers saying that their comic books are not getting printed because so many people are using overseas printers. You know, I mean, what are you going to do? In recent days, China has started reopening its factories, despite public health concerns in an effort to restart the economy, but manufacturing sites are still running at far lower capacity than usual. It's too early to measure the full financial impact of the virus on the tech industry, but the early signs don't look good. Apple, the world's most valuable tech company, said it's reducing its revenue targets this quarter in a rare company advisory released on Monday. Tesla said that health epidemics are a risk to business. Amazon, whose e-consumer business relies on the flow of goods between China and the US and other countries, has not released any similar warnings, but is stockpiling supplier items from China to protect against future disruptions. Alibaba is calling the outbreak a black swan event. It's unpredictable. Social media companies are trying to keep up with a slew of misinformation about the virus's origins and spread. And they're still financially less impacted like companies like Apple, but it's happening. Facebook has been affected, setting reduced production goals for the Oculus Quest. Virtually all the major tech companies, Apple, Google, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, and Sony, I guess, have restricted employee travel to China, either banning it or limiting it only to matters of critical importance. They're also asking workers returning from China to work from home for up to 2 weeks. This is not a racism thing at all. This is companies trying to protect their employees. I agree with Sony's decision. I wish more people would, take this seriously, especially when you're in a situation where you're going to run into people from other countries. And it doesn't have to be from China. There could be people at trade shows that could have unknowingly contracted the disease from someone else overseas. And that's how it's spreading. You have no idea. So absolutely keep your people at home. And Mayor Marty Walsh literally is one of the dumbest mayors I've ever, I cannot believe he is going to lecture Sony. He's going to lecture Sony on what it means to be anti-Asian. I mean, that's just ridiculous. It's like, seriously, could you be dumber, Mayor Marty Walsh? So I don't know. There it is, guys. It's definitely affecting pop culture. It's going to be interesting to see how it affects the video game industry, the anime industry. This thing is a lot more serious than I even thought. I thought it was like, well, it's going to be like bird flu. It's going to blow through and then we won't hear anything about it. It'll go down the memory hole, but it's going to have some long lasting impact, I believe, outside of the obvious tragedy that it brings with it, economic hardship for sure. So I'm going to wrap this one up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we will talk later. Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.